I can think of two things specifically that have been unsettling about doing this research. One is finding professionally engineered scale models of different environments and buildings that we've talked about. The other is coming across this photo of an ungloved hand holding up the head of a gentleman who looks like he has just undergone a lobotomy. I couldn't find any information about this gentleman, but I'll get into that later. When I first started this project, I kept my studies focused on the Francis J. Petrie collection because I didn't want to overwhelm myself. Plus, I liked how Francis Petrie was a Niagara historian himself, and I felt like that gave the photos that I was reviewing a little bit more validity. I got a little bit curious, and I took a quick gander at what other collections were available on this website. And what I found was amazing and shocking. Many of these photos reaffirm what we've been talking about, and it's all hidden in plain sight. So I just wanted to introduce these collections to you guys and show you guys how to access the information yourself, in case you also enjoy looking through historical photos in your free time. So the 5 new categories we have are the Fred Healy collection. There's lots of construction, lots of digging. The Hodgebane collection, a lot of people and crowds. The Kiwanis collection has beautiful scenic photos. The Wilfred Hicks collection, lots of buildings and mud and boats. And last, but definitely least, the James collection. I knew every time if I saw a ridiculous overlay, it was going to be from the James collection, and every single time I was right. James loves to use overlays such as ice on side mirrors, water on windshield, dirt on rear view window, cross-section of nerve ending. It's always James, every time. Goodbye, James. I found a few things that caught my attention. Meet Miss Rye, Home for Orphan Children. And I noticed there's a lot of mention of Miss Rye, but no photos. She had a school. It was also called Miss Rye's Western Home. This says, our Western Home, built in 1817, see jail and courthouse, over 25-year period occupied by Miss Rye's 4,000 orphan children. To put that into perspective, this says Ontario's Directory for 1851, town in Grantham Township, Lincoln County, population circa 4,000. This says Niagara Second Jail later became a training school for orphan girls. Was this just 4,000 girls? Oh, Miss Rye's Distributing Home for Immigrant Children, 1879, December 6. And then I came across this. Stanley Victor, husband of Francis, father of John. World War I left him war orphan. At age 12 years was shipped by Bernardo Holmes, in brackets orphanage, to Canada as farmhand. And I figure, what could have possibly happened? Canada's forgotten scandal, Bernardo children? I've never heard of the Bernardo children. So I looked it up. He was accused of kidnapping children without parents' permission and of falsifying photographs of children to make the distinction between the period before they were rescued by Bernardo's and afterward seem more dramatic. It says, there was a decided shortage of good domestic servants, so the home was serving the community by meeting this demand. I think I figured out why Miss Rye was wiped from the library. They did leave this picture of a cut and paste article, but I think it downplays the severity of what was actually going on. Miss Rye's school. The early settlers at Niagara realized the importance of giving their young people a sound education. There were a number of private schools at various times, some of which became quite famous in the new province of Upper Canada. In addition, there was a rather unique school known as Miss Rye's, which was really an orphanage for waifs and strays from England. Maria S. Rye had started her work among the poor when only 18 years of age. Her idea was that abandoned and neglected children, if sent from the crowded centers of population to a new uncrowded country such as Canada, might eventually make something of themselves. Miss Rye carried on her humanitarian work at Niagara for more than 25 years, during which 5,000 waifs and strays from London and other parts of England were brought out and placed either as domestic servants or were adopted outright by the families who gave them shelter. The heck? Some even married local men and in turn made application to the home for servants themselves. Much criticism was directed against Miss Rye and her Western home, but it was only to be expected that a small percentage out of several thousand children would not do so well. Miss Rye has planted directly 3,301 London waifs. They usually marry or live happily as helpers in other homes. That's ridiculous. Smile for the birdie. 2 children in a studio photograph superimposed on a picture of the Whirlpool Rapids near the railway cantilever bridge. Not to be the hand police, but like, what? Is that normal? Anyway, is this a bridge? Is this actually a bridge? Or is this a power line made to look like a bridge? The date says circa 1890. Okay, there's a little bit of a glow around the umbrella, but look how perfect that is. It's like you'd think they were actually there, but they were doing this in 1890. And this one as well, a studio photograph superimposed on a winter scene. Let's see the year, 1890. And they're just letting us know. That is like airbrushed around there. Pretty crazy. Immediately, I noticed that this gentleman has a shadow, but this gentleman doesn't. Somebody's shadow is missing, but I won't even get into that. What's that saying? It's like horseshoe falls at night, sailor's delight or something? I'm just kidding. I don't believe this is nighttime. It looks like daytime. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any information on John, and there's no other photo in the entire collection. It is interesting how a lot of the links have photos missing. It makes me wonder how they decided which photos to remove. And also, where are they? I've got a lot of photos to look at. I wanted to talk about some tips for if you decide to go looking for information yourself. Google is very limited, especially with photos. Find the public library that's associated with that area and try to find photos and information through the public library, because I come across so many photos that do not appear on Google. The dates on these photos aren't always reliable. I've enjoyed having the Canadian Disaster Database as something that I can compare the events to and compare the dates. It helps me put things into perspective and kind of create a timeline. If possible, try to find a database for that area if you're interested in having something to compare your results to. It helps to keep in mind where your information is coming from and when that information was put out. Once I started doing more research, I started to gather a lot of information. It was important to be able to organize that because I was always cross-referencing old research. This can include making playlists. This can really help organize the information without trying to remember everything. It can be hard to know what to look for, so this is a list of words that you can specifically look up in the online libraries to find old world photos. You may miss out on a lot of results if you're not looking for it in the right way. And trying different variations of each word does help. Little kitty. Meow. Wait.